We all as humans love being comfortable or getting comfortable at the end of a day. But being uncomfortable is part of life. There's this kind of discomfort which we don't choose and that which we do. And the most successful people in the world reinforce that they achieved what they did by getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, finding themselves in situations that aren't familiar or aren't what they know, to go out and grab something and attain something that has never been done before. No progress is ever made without some kind of journey into discomfort. So, join us as we launch out onto the loop and discuss Get Comfortable, Getting Uncomfortable on Curiosity Continuum.
Hey everybody, this is Josh.
And this is Brian.
Thank you for joining us today on Curiosity Continuum. For those of you tuning in for the first time, Curiosity Continuum is a podcast and movement started by two lifelong friends who want to spark your curiosity, help you integrate information, enhance your everyday contextual awareness in a constantly changing world. And we're going to do this with you by sharing conversations that explore, examine, and reframe common practical topics.
CuriosityContinuum.com. Please go and find the links to go off and subscribe, please. Subscribing helps us find new listeners for the podcast. If you find something useful, guaranteed somebody else will also find it useful that you may or may not know. So please follow us on social media. Please make sure you interact and rate and share us with your friends.
Yeah. So Brian, we wanted to talk about get comfortable, being uncomfortable, or getting uncomfortable.
Yes.
So how did you want to start this?
Probably a logical place, just to make a statement at the very beginning, is that we as human beings don't feel satisfied or fulfilled in our life if we don't have something to conquer. I don't mean conquer in like just the domineering sense, but like when we have
like overcoming an obstacle, a challenge, and something adverse or whatever.
Something that requires us to come up.
Right.
We feel powerful because of it. We feel accomplished.
Like Rocky.
Exactly, Rocky. And you root for Rocky because you want him to do that.
Yeah, because he came from nothing.
Yep.
And is becoming something.
Yes. And in the first movie, he didn't quite become something as far as like the champion, but he became something to everybody because of that. But it was definitely not a comfortable thing, when he was getting the crap beat out of him. That was not a comfortable thing to watch.
Right.
But he did good. Some of this, though, too, Josh, is like a fear factor. Not everything that you would approach in life is because of like a fear is holding you back from it. Sometimes I just don't want to do that. But can you remember, it's like, what's something like was a major fear factor for you that you had to work through that was really uncomfortable, but now you're on the other side of it and it's like, hey, this is actually much easier for me to do now.
It's easier. It's still not the best, but it's like speaking in front of people. So for me, that was like a terrifying thing. And even in school, I was terrified of it. But when I got out into like working and when I started actually like talking to other people, I realized that they're kind of afraid of it too. I mean, everybody's afraid of something. So why don't we just do it? And by just doing it, by just talking to people, by, going in groups and stuff like this at work and other things. And I just kind of like got used to doing it. And at that point now I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'll do it.
So you always fooled me because I always thought you were very comfortable at public speaking.
No, I just practice a lot because I was very uncomfortable doing it. So, I mean, and then I would use like little bits of humor and things like that to cover up my uncomfortableness.
Okay.
Because that was like the awkwardness, and everybody kind of like, oh, well, that's cool, ha 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 ha.
They're laughing with you, not at you.
Right.
And the whole thing. I had this fear of heights when I was growing up. And it wasn't like terrible. But like when you get to a certain spot, it's like, oh dang! Like I just remember feeling like this isn't good, or like
so, like a fear of heights or a fear of falling.
Well, the fear of falling from a specified height. Yeah. And there were things I did. I remember to try to get over it. And one of them was I was in a youth group, and we went to Taylor's Falls, up in Minnesota, and it was cliff jumping.
Okay.
Like into the water.
Yeah.
So you had enough clearance, stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, it was like terrifying and exhilarating all at the same time.
Yeah, because once you did it, you were like adrenaline.
Oh,
rush.
Man.
It's like going on a roller coaster.
It is super fun.
Yeah.
Super, super fun. And my children, too, now as they're getting introduced to roller coasters, that's something that you're safe in those things.
Well,
except for the really edge cases.
Safe.
Yeah.
I mean, safer than if you were just kind of like hanging out, you know?
Well, right, yeah. Don't just be hanging out on a roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah.
Make sure you take the safety precautions. But I'll tell you, the main thing that did it for me, it wasn't that. I was actually, when I lived with stuntman Bob Yerkes out in the San Fernando Valley for a while, and he has this high fall tower in his backyard. And so this thing goes up at least 80 feet or more. He has a flag at the top. And this tower was used, you climb up it, had a ladder,
Mm-hmm.
and then he had like this platform, and it wasn't probably any bigger, much bigger than like a big laptop. And people would throw themselves off of it because you had the big airbags for stunt work and
Right.
you'd fall on it. I didn't do that. But I'm like, well, I'm bound and determined, like, I'm going to get over this. And so I climbed this little bitty ladder, like at the end of my day, after I was done doing my internship and stuff like that. And it was, like 8, 9 o'clock at night. Climb up that thing and sit on that little platform and turn around and hang on and look over the San Fernando Valley. And I had to have been at least 30 feet up.
Sure.
And, like if the fear of falling was very like, oh my gosh, if I don't hang on. And it was a little breezy. I did that like every night.
Okay.
And when I kept doing it again and again and again, like it took the edge off. And so to this day, I can like climb up ladders much easier and do different things.
Yeah, you're still kind of like weary of it, but now you know, like, okay.
I know how to move through it.
Yeah. Get through that experience.
Yeah. And if I hadn't ever done that, like, now I can, if I have to go up on a ladder and paint or do something like that.
Yeah, you can do it. You can function.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That makes a great title for a podcast,
Yeah,
Josh.
it
Maybe we
does,
should do. So, where's an example? I guess the other side of it is like, where's an example where you chose comfort because it was comfortable,
Right.
because it was a creature comfort, but that it really wasn't the right decision?
I think as humans, we probably have way more of these than, like you're supposed to be on a diet, but you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take this hamburger because I like it. It's just what I'm comfortable with. It's good. Or, I mean, you want something more abstract than that?
No, that's actually really good. I like that. Very tangible.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think like a lot of people would recognize that because I think everybody's struggled with that kind of like feeling like, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? It's a choice, right?
Yeah.
So it really is what it is. And I'm a weak human being. So like if there's like a chocolate bar there and I want it, I'm going to eat it. I mean, I don't even pretend to say I'm not going to, like I'm very weak minded that way, especially with food.
Yeah.
Like if it's something I like, I'm going to get it.
That's why it's called comfort food.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody calls a salad comfort food.
Not really. No.
You should.
I mean,
eat
I
it.
love salad dressing, but salad not too much.
Salad is the mechanism by which you eat salad dressing.
Yeah, and I mean, like I'm that guy that like, okay, I'll have a salad, and then I cut up a chicken tender and throw it on top, and then throw a bunch of salad dressing on that, so it tastes great.
Yeah.
Because it's chicken tender, dipped in dressing, and I got some lettuce around it, whatever.
It's just there. What's that lettuce doing?
Yeah,
Green stuff.
exactly. It's just gonna help move everything along.
My dad used to ask my mom, like when have a sandwich, something like, what's this green stuff you're putting on my sandwich? It's like,
yeah, beige is king.
Oh my gosh. Food is something actually like over time that I moved, and my wife was largely responsible for it, like in moving, try to eat as healthy as we can,
Right.
as much natural food as we can and organic and stuff like that. It was over time just doing little bitty things.
You're moving the needle just a little
Moving
bit.
the needle.
So it's not all at once. I mean, you're realistic. You can't be like, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to do everything perfect.
No. Yeah. And so here's another thing too. Like, so I will do, when I work out, I can't do whey protein. It just like does
Right.
not agree with me.
Right.
And so I get this like unflavored, simple, like pea protein, rice protein, all that kind of stuff. And I just drink this stuff.
Yeah.
My wife thinks it has a consistency of chalk, and she's being kind.
Probably does.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it tastes only marginally better. But I know what the value is to me.
Sure.
And so it's like, would I prefer to eat like cheesecake? Yes, I
course.
would, please,
Yeah.
But those are things that sometimes just necessary to get in yourself,
Yeah.
I think of somebody like The Rock. I talk about a dude who like this generation's Mr. T, kind of like as far as what he's done and all the things. Like you hire him because he is who he is. There's so many things that he does that would make, you watch some of his workouts, you watch what he does and go, man, that's really uncomfortable. But one of his things he always says, is always be the hardest worker in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Be humble and, work hard and always be the hardest worker in the room. And some of those things is because he chose the path of discomfort to be able to get to where he was
Sure.
and what he wanted to achieve in his life.
Yeah. Because, I mean, none of this stuff comes easy.
No.
So, I mean, and that's what I think I think a lot of people might think like, oh, this is just easy. You guys just do this. No. I mean, we have the same hangups as everybody else. We just might be on a different subject or whatever, but
Yeah.
we've learned to kind of like move past that on certain things. And if we've done it, I mean, come on. If I've done it, anyone can learn. Everybody can learn to do it.
Yeah.
And it's a process.
Here's the thing too. It's what you prioritize in your life where like you become more okay with being uncomfortable about something. You know?
Yeah, it's not like it's it might not be like a big issue even. It might just be like, oh, yeah, okay. It'll work itself out. But I mean, cuz there's some stuff you don't have direct control over.
Right.
So you can't be, like you just can't do it.
Okay, so here's an example everybody will appreciate because everybody has lived through this phase in their life if you're over the age of like 5. It's like when you finally see that person like that you want to ask out on a date or something like that and you're afraid like, oh crap, like I don't know if I can do this. Some people like
because you're afraid of the rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want that stuff. I wouldn't be a married man though had I just like lived in that because
right.
It would have been like, oh well, I guess I'm gonna go over here and chill or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
She was worth the risk, and I'm glad that I did it, and hopefully she's still glad that I went and did it too.
Let's not ask her.
Let's not we'll edit that part out.
Okay, we're not uncomfortable. We're not uncomfortable.
Oh,
we're not comfortable with that.
Oh man. So I'll say this: nobody likes anything that's stale.
Right.
Chips, bread, conversation.
Right.
So we may cut this conversation so it doesn't grow stale in the conversation.
Exactly.
But if you're seeing staleness, it's a sign that like it's been sitting still for too long. It's time to kind of move on and
sure.
do something different with it,
Yeah.
So probably till next time, as we put a comma in the conversation here, to have people hunt out the staleness in their life. And if you don't, ask somebody that's close to you, because they definitely will tell you, like, hey, this is a little bit...
You're stuck in this rut. You're doing this or whatever. Yeah.
All a rut is a grave with the ends kicked out.
Yeah.
So just remember that. If you're in a rut, get out of it.
Yeah.
Have somebody help you. So until next time, this is Brian.
And this is Josh.
For Curiosity Continuum.